Hello everybody, welcome to the Splashscreen from Bforartists competition winner event. Hosted by myself, here with the community, and I'm here to grade the pieces, check it out into the interface, maybe compile a build or two, and announce the final winner. There is one particular piece that spoke out to me, and all the other pieces also spoke out to me quite well. But we will have to be thorough, fair, and grade everyone according to the 5 attributes that we have per piece. So let's begin. So we're going to start in alphabetical order, and then I will announce the winner. And I'll be doing the grading off screen as I take note, but I'll be explaining what I grade and how I grade it. Does that sound good? So stick around. Hopefully we can do this in the next 20 minutes or half an hour or so. And we should be fine. So hold on to your seats. The first piece that we're going to be working on is Bforartists. So Bforartists has been a previous winner of the last particular project. And this has given us a sense of community participation, which I love. And Bforartists has been playing consistently with everybody. So we're going to take a closer look at Bforartists' piece. This piece has been taken from his short film that he's currently producing about a particular creature walking in a world, bringing in a sense of doom or dread. There's something mysterious going on with this piece and in the short film. So we can take a look. It's got a nice blue sky, clouds, a metal piece, and just to give you an idea of how we're grading, we'll be grading the piece based on originality. In other words, the story, the composition, the idea behind the piece. We'll be grading that as a total of 20 points. Style, which has a total of 10 points, which is based on the technique of the style you're trying to get. Like, is it photoreal? Is it a medium based of NPR style? And then finally, story. The message that's transmitted in the piece. Originality is kind of like your creativity being expressed through the piece and how dynamic it is, and the story is the message you are trying to speak with the piece. After that, we go into aesthetics, which is another 40% in total. Well, with a 10% on composition, layout, 10% on lighting, 10% on color, 10% on detail. Then we have another 10 points on technical skill, which is an evaluation of how hard I think it could have been to do it. And finally, if there was a work in progress with Bforartists, you get 10%. All of these pieces, I am not sure. Nobody actually really shared if they were using Bforartists or not, so this will be null. So we're going to level the playing field since this is a giant question mark. So maximum amount of points will be 90. And these are the factors that I'll be evaluating off screen. So let's take a look at originality with a short piece. I'm going to give them a score of, we'll see, I'll see, just give me a moment. There we go. Concerning style, I do like the style of the effect, though it does use an HDRI as a background. That's all right. Concerning story, I do know the story behind it. Unfortunately, in the image, I have difficulty understanding what the story could be. But it's still relatively strong with that strong foundational background. So I'm going to give it a score of, should I be saying this or not? We'll see. So originality, 12 out of 20. Let's just check and see actually on the internet. Yeah, we have people watching. I'm glad you're watching. And it's a comprehensive way to evaluate these submissions. This is true. So I have a question for you. Should I speak out the evaluation and score live, or should I hold it as a secret till the end? What do you think, Ashley?
I think you should do it live.
All right, let's
It's
do
more
it live.
entertaining.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to go side by side with the, where did it go? There it is. Just snap it from side to side so you can see one over the other. Control Shift T. So with Sunsei originality, I added a score of 12 out of 20. When it comes to style, I gave it 6 out of 10. I know this is a photorealistic style, but when it comes to the clouds up front, there was a sense of incoherence of grading or incoherence with the detail, with the background and the foreground. But the general style of the actual machine and all of that is quite good. So it's coming to kind of a stylized realism, which was a great attempt, but not quite, but it's still very good. So I gave it 6 out of 10. When it comes to story, I know the background and I can see the hero, but I'm not sure what's happening. Is this abandoned? Is it destroyed? There could have a bit more of a dynamic intention when it comes to what it's supposed to be, so I gave it 6 out of 10. When it comes to composition, it fits the logo very nicely. It fits the title down here very nicely. It works in the splash screen as something that's very catchy. I will give it 10 out of 10. When it comes to lighting, there is a little bit of a white clipping going on in the clouds, but we have a solar flare up here on the top right, which I consider really cool. And the depth of the atmosphere and the light coming in it's relatively alright. So I give it an 8 out of 10. When it comes to color, as I mentioned earlier, the atmosphere has a purple-blue tint. Meanwhile, the foreground has slightly yellow. So when it comes to color and the blue and the color gradient between the background and the foreground, there's a little bit of a difficulty. So I give it 5 out of 10. When it comes to detail, the detail on the building is actually excellent. I really love it. And you can see like little birds. Unfortunately, detail on the clouds really subtracted from the detail on the actual element. So I give it 7 out of 10. I know clouds is quite a hard thing to do, and same with modeling and other things like that. So when it comes to technical skill, there's quite a good sense of texture bashing with model bashing, a sense of using VDBs since he's shared some of the technique. But this is something that requires a sense of attention to detail and also a full silhouette concerning the style. So I consider this technically quite a marvel, especially with the amount of time that he has, the amount of shots that he's been working with the short film and stuff like that. I'll be giving this a 7 out of 10. So we will not see the final score, but we have the grading. So let's take a closer look. The UI overlay is covering at least on the Discord. Oh, that's strange. I'm showing the wrong screen. There we go. Thanks, Steinn. How are you on YouTube? And yes, on YouTube mentioned that scoring it live would be great. Love to hear the thought process behind it. Excellent. Let's go. So the next piece, when it comes to the grading, is drum roll time. Let me just bring up the entries. We have beta or beta. So beta has been as a friend of mine from here in the city, a very excellent artist. It's nice to have someone from the hood directly submit. I'm very honored. And beta is a specialist for hard surface modeling, shading, and game assets. And their entry has also got a sky theme with a grounding of a desert looking vibe. And it also has clouds and birds. It has these buildings with a slight NPR touch and line art drawing. Some interesting depth of field going on, some cables and some extra strange S-curve shapes and C-curve shaped roofs, which I thought was very interesting. So taking a look inside of the splash screen of the software, you can see that it fits in nicely. I may have to work with the logo to use the dark version on the cloud, but it's also got a nice little cloud here for the title on the bottom right. So composition-wise, it's very, very catchy. And it also feels oddly nostalgic to some degree. So let's go to the valuation. So the first evaluation that we have on the score is originality. So let's keep it full screen here. So when it comes to originality, the idea, I thought it was a clever idea of fantasy and desert, tiled roofs cobbled together. I thought it was quite an interesting, curious idea. It's very similar to the other, so I'm going to give it the same score. When it comes to style, this has moved away from hyperrealism and has moved more towards a stylized, detailed, non-photorealism, but with a rendered, drawn style. So I'm going to give this a pretty good shot at that. Give it a 8 out of 10. When it comes to story, there's a town in the clouds with some birds. It's like a village connected by cables. I'm not sure if this is abandoned or not, but I give this also a similar grade story as the previous piece. When it comes to composition was quite good. I still have to work with the color a little bit, so I give it 10 out of 10. When it comes to lighting, the contrast read is very strong when it comes to shadows and light, and the general values, if we take a closer look between the sky and the heroes with the clouds in between, it's relatively good. And it's all tied together quite nicely. I will actually... Then when it comes to the lighting here, with the sun lamps and the guard rays, one there, one there, this one is more consistent, but it's still not telling a huge highlight. I'll have to give it a very similar score to the last one, and I might actually drop these both down to give room to some aspects. So what do I consider a high grade of lighting? Is consistency, but also illumination of what is the hero, what is the story. So in this case, if the lighting is, the silhouette read is quite good, which is part of the color contrast. But at the same time, what is the first hero? We have the hero here, but here we have, even though there's good read, we're not sure which one is the first principal hero of the piece. So I have to drop the scores, but they're very similar. Comes to color, it's got a blue-red or blue-orange, which I think is on the color wheel of a complementary color tone, which I consider quite good. And that's quite well executed. Same with the orange saturation and the blue saturation. They're not fighting for saturation, so the complementary color scheme is actually quite good. So I give it 8, actually 9. When it comes to detail, the details are quite nice with the birds, the modeling, the struts, the rocks. There are some lines that go over the clouds, but that's the problem of the engine. Detailing is quite decent, so I also give it 8 out of 10. And technical skill, also used volumetrics, the modeling as well, which is very, very soft looking models with textures that have been carefully applied. It's also very similar techniques to what we had over here, but in this case we also have some rocks going in, so I also give it a level of 7 out of 10. So next piece, Beta, thanks for submitting and playing. That's a big honor to have you play in this game. Out of total we have 10 pieces, so we've done 2 out of 10. There are now 8 more. Next piece is provided by Danny from Ephemero Studio. So it's really nice to have Danny play. It's also the first time that Danny has been playing in this particular submission, so it's a massive honor. And Danny's piece is actually very magical. It's brought out a sense of children storybooks and storytelling, children's animation from books about dreaming or fantasy worlds of others where gravity is defied. So we have a small girl on the bottom right swinging with the stars coming out of her hair, a little treehouse hanging off the side of the cliff, The moon in the background, darker than night, and everything's well lit with a nice blue and orange with touches of green and yellow with some excellent wooden textures. It looks really nice. So it's a curious piece. I quite like it a lot. Inside of the software, the composition looks quite nice as well. And as inside the software is a magical enchanting piece. Fortunately, due to the size of the software, detail starts to get lost a little bit due to pixel limit, but that's okay. And now let's go to the scores. Okay, so we have first, originality. Children's storytelling and creating worlds that defies gravity but somehow still make sense with the rope, the little table with the books on the table, the little mattress, the concept of the blue hair with the stars. I consider this originality very good and very hard to do. Now I'm going to give it a perfect score of 20 out of 20. When it comes to style, this is a stylized realism to some degree, with a hint of a rendered look. Lots of details, thick ropes, clever textures, but cartoony styles and composition and elements. The style is a tricky one to do, but it was an excellent attempt. So I'll give it 9 out of 10. When it comes to story, it's very clear that she lives in this place, that she sleeps there, studies there, but she's just swinging, and stars are coming out of her magic hair. So the story, I also give this a 10 out of 10. With composition, it does fit well, but it does have a little bit of a top-sided bias when it comes to the logo. So because of that, it lifts the image high, and if you don't look closely, it might be difficult to understand that she is the little girl inside the piece. So the roots had taken too much protagonism, and the image has become a little bit top left biased when it comes to the weight of the image. So when it comes to composition, though it was a good attempt, would have to be docked a little bit. So 7 out of 10. Comes to lighting, it's moonlight with lamplight, then filled in by the atmospheric starlight. Generally, it was very well executed. I consider this an 8 out of 10. And also the highlighting of the contrast and things like that were quite good when it comes to color. So I consider this the blue-orange effect. The color of this was also very nicely done. I give it a 9 out of 10. When it comes to detail, the details were very good, with the ropes and the strings and the grass, the hair and the legs and the lamps and the branches, the curtain. The detail was very good. Quite a lot of it, similar to the other pieces. I will consider this has a bit more detail because on top of that, they thought about the story and added the details for the particular story, which I consider very clever. So 9 out of 10. When it comes to technical skill, it's a lot of good modeling, maybe sculpting, scattering of grass, some particles done in post potentially or during. The ropes were quite well textured. The pieces were quite well done. The moon, yes, was from an image. The stars as well, but everything else is relatively okay. I consider this modeling also quite well done. But when it comes to thinking about the story, it does have an advantage over the last two pieces. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Very good, Danny. That was a nice one. Next piece. And we have a comment on YouTube by Secretive Plotter. This one is really informative on how to do nighttime lighting. I always had trouble keeping everything well lit while keeping the lighting dynamic and interesting. I highly agree. This is why I gave them quite a good score in that regard across the board. It is good. So next piece from there is, let's take a closer look, by Eraser's Studio. So Eraser Studio is also a previous winner from the Blender Splashscreen. Eraser's 45 Studios. and they have been contributing with assets, and they've been working together with everybody to do some work. They were the winners of 4.2. Oh, Belsunce was the winner of 4.1, just to give you an idea. So 4.2, Erasers did a butterfly effector of some kind, very illustrative. And this time around, we've done a piece when it of nature, also with a blue theme. So we have a procedural sky, blocks of ice floating in the water. It could be an Arctic, it could be the Antarctic. We got a really nice subsurface icy shader with some frost on the top, with some angular normals, which I thought was a clever touch. Nice bit of specularity, a little bit of caustics bouncing out from the water, and an interesting shape. This actually looks very smart inside the software, and I thought it was very nice as well. The hint of orange and blue as well. So it's quite a nice piece. Very color coordinated. So let's take a look at the scores. So we have Erasers, 45 Studios. Originality. I consider this, it does seem like something I have seen before, and I have discussed it with a couple of artists before, that it could be a desktop that we have seen included with some versions of Windows or others. So concerning the block of ice, it's real world based. I'm going to give this a sense of 10 out of 20. But it is a very beautiful piece. After this, the style. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be stylistic or realistic. So I'm going, though it was well executed, to make it hyper realistic, it requires a lot of extra finesse and detail, caustics, lighting, and other things like that. The clouds in this particular case has detracted from the hyperrealism, and the shape language has also detracted from the sense of hyperrealism as well, which gives it more of a stylistic vibe, which I do like. But it was a little bit difficult to combat the style or to target the particular style that it's trying to hint at. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. When it comes to story, oh, it's a block of ice floating in the water, starting to melt. Global warming, could be that. Pretty simple story. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. When it comes to composition, it fit very nicely into the logo. It also was very well balanced with a left-right vibe with the heavy logo on the left, the ice on the right. Centered with the pieces quite nicely. Maybe could have lowered just a tiny bit, but it was very good. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. When it comes to the lighting, I do love the specular spots, the reflections on the water, which is actually quite tricky to do. The kind of angular light of the 45 degrees. It's very clear, very clean. I would give this also a 9 out of 10. There's not a lot you can do with it, with the shadow and the shapes. It was quite good. Brings out the detail as well, the way they angled the sun. So though it is simple lighting, the angle and the time of day was very intentional to bring out the correct details in the shape language. So I thought it was very good. When it comes to color, I thought it was very good as well. I consider it 10 out of 10 because it fits with the logo very nicely. When it comes to the detail, there is quite a good sense of detail. I do see some repeated patterns in the water though, unfortunately. So some of the instancing on the water, you can recognize the shapes. So just because of that small detail, I would have to, and the clouds as well on the top. I'm not sure if it's a time-lapse cloud or not. I'm going to have to dox the detail a little bit. When it comes to technical skill, this is very well done. There's some things that could have been improved, but it was an excellent entry. And I would also give this a score of 7. So thank you, Razors. Your piece is very refreshing, very chill, cool, very cool piece. and and I hope we can have you play again in the near future. And it's also very nice to have the community be part of the competitions, to keep playing, have fun, to enjoy. And also, thanks to Razors, we actually have the first prize and the second prize from their work that they have kindly donated. So not only have they played, they're also giving you a chance to win. So thank you very much, Erasers. Hopefully my judgment wasn't biased, and I hope you're okay with that as well. So let's move on to the next one. Krysidian. Krysidian has entered from another server. Oh, I just need to make sure I have all the entries from the other servers as well. Yep, let me just double check the entries. And I have 2 alliances. This competition was in alliance with Punto Blend from the Iberian Peninsula. And we also did an alliance with Control Art Delete from Cody and Alan. And this is an entry by Krysidian from the Control Art Delete Discord server. Krysidian. So Krysidian has been working with his team of students as part of their thesis short film that they've been working on. So this is also a very amazing art piece, done 100% in 3D with some matte painting in the background. But this art piece has been built using brushstrokes add-on from Blender and rigging and other effects and compositing done by Krysidian and their team. They've been developing the style for a while now, and they've been working through the shots, and they've been happy to contribute as a team into the competition. We'll see what we can do about the prize. So we take a look at the piece. We have a very nice composition with the hero standing on the pole, kind of a plague doctor. We got a beautiful orange and blue light with a majority greenish blue with the yellow highlights. We've got some nice brush strokes and specularity. If you take a closer look, you can see that the strokes have been embossed, and it's using some camera noise and paint noise to bring out the style, using some different types of Kohara to tie in the specular highlights and even paper textures. Lots of subtle detail going on, but a very clear language, very stylistic, very cartoon. This piece turned out beautifully, and the team has done an excellent job, with Krysidian doing the heavy lifting and the compositing and lighting and others. So let's get to the drawing board. Krysidian and team. So originality, plague doctor in the street, standing on a lighted pole during a Victorian era, I assume. I consider this very original. Using paint strokes, MPI techniques, perfect score, 20 out of 20. When it comes to style, they really embrace the style with the shape language, with the proportions, with the strokes in the material, and the illustrative look as well. They really commit to everything. So I consider this a perfect 10 out of 10. When it comes to story, it's very clear that the character there has a light. They're looking at something. They're looking towards a window. They're waiting, or they're standing at something at the dark of the night while everybody's asleep, but they're inhabited by people. There's something going to happen, or there's something going on, and we're not sure what yet, but there is a story that has been heavily implied. And because of that, I'm going to also give this another perfect score, 10 out of 10. So originality and creativity knocked it out of the park. I think this was a great piece. When it comes to composition, it's a right heavy bias, maybe with a little bit of a bottom bias as well to fit in the logo, the title at the bottom right. Unfortunately, the moon is a little bit into the logo a tiny bit, so I'm going to have to drop the composition down. But in general, it works quite well. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. When it comes to lighting, there are a lot of dark spots to bring out the shape, very silhouette heavy, which is very intentional. Unfortunately, And also has the complementary orange to blue, which is great. And the rim light from the moonlight was very well done. But since we're working with material and the world and maybe the full silhouette, I'm not sure if there should have been more kicklight, but I think it was very good. Just wish the noise didn't disappear in the blacks. So the material could be still believable when it comes to the painterly style. But this is a personal taste, so I'm still giving them quite a high score of 9 out of 10. When it comes to color is very good with a touch of green, blue, and orange. When you look at the sense of the color wheel, which is this one here, the green, the blue, and the complementary orange. This is kind of like a split complementary, I think is what they're called. So I think consider that very well done. 10 out of 10. Comes to detail. The detail is very well done with the strokes, the background, the detail of the world. I also consider this very good. 9 out of 10. I wish I could see what was here, but other than that, it's very good. So that's why I had to dock it at 1 point. Technical skill, using the brush strokes, the compositing, working as a team, using the mate painting as well, using the style language. I consider this very difficult and requires a lot of artistic background and training. So I'm going to give this 10 out of 10. So Krysidian, you've done an excellent job. Your entry has been absolutely gorgeous, and I consider this a really good piece. Unfortunately, yeah, the composition could have improved a little bit if it wasn't so bottom heavy. Might actually dock that down a little bit. Nah, we'll leave it like that. Right, the next piece after Krysidian is, drumroll time, Maid Shake. So Maid has been one of the maintainers of the flat pack of Bforartists, and they have played in the past as well and introed with some different pieces from with Minecraft themes and others. So with that, we've had, hello White Roosters. We're currently streaming live, just so you know. But if you want to join in the Discord, ask questions or do a commentary, or sway the votes, feel free. And also, Secretive Plotter, you enjoyed that last piece. I'm glad you liked it. So let's just put on the focus mode of my computer so the notifications don't come on. There we go. All right, so from there, Maid, let's take a closer look. So Maid has done another painterly piece with another kind of a whitish blue, almost purple look with an orange complement. And this is an abandoned building that's under construction, made of cement, in a dark, foggy street. These lights are penetrating the cement. It's a very interesting piece, and I actually consider it a kind of interesting style as well. The attempt to throw in the painterly strokes, throw in the material, bring it out with the bloom, and especially this dark street here, I thought was really cool. I liked it a lot. Inside, the composition is very clean, very to the point. Hello, Maid. This is your piece. I'm just reviewing your piece right now, actually. So, speak of the devil. So it's a very clear composition, central, top, left, right, bottom, right. Everything is good. And from there, we can work on the scores. So, just to review, we're working on originality as 20%, style, story, composition, lighting, color, detail, skill, and the Bforartists bonus. But since I'm not sure, nobody actually specified where they built it, most of it's assumed in Blender, we have annulled the Bforartists bonus. So let's take a look. Right, so originality. When it comes to the concept of the story behind a light form inside. It's almost like an installation of an art piece in an abandoned building. I thought it was quite clever. So I'm giving this a 17 out of 20. When it comes to the style, it kind of has a realistic but painterly vibe to it. I thought it was quite good. It's difficult to execute this extremely well, but you did an excellent attempt. So 8 out of 10. When it comes to story, this is an interesting one that makes me ask questions. Why is there light in the building? Why is that a person on the street? Or is that a bin? What's happening? Why is this happening? It had me ask a lot more questions, which was good and it's difficult to do. So I gave it 8 out of 10. When it comes to composition inside of the logo, like some of the other pieces, it seems to be a common theme where things are a little bit top heavy underneath the logo instead of balancing it out by putting details of the hero onto the bottom third. But the street lamps did a really nice job of balancing out the logo. So it's a central piece. Hey, Timothy, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hey, we're currently streaming live, so if you want, you can chip in and sway the vote. But
Oh, sure. What's going on here?
so we're currently evaluating the Splashscreen entries, which are 10 of them. We've currently done 7. There's 2 more, and we're going through
Okay.
Mahid's piece. So we have the originality, style, story, composition, lighting, color, and detail. So let's carry on. So when it comes to composition, because of the bottom heavy float and the central piece going underneath the logo, I'm going to have to drop the score, but it's still a relatively good piece. When it comes to lighting, I do like the colors. Unfortunately, it's very dark on the bottom end of things to fit the light. So detail or more information into the image could have been applied. So I'm giving this 8 out of 10. When it comes to color, the color was excellent. I think it was a good job. I do like the slightly white with the orange, but it's still hinting at the blue with the logo. So I give it 10 out of 10. And when it comes to detail, unfortunately, I have to drop this down lower. The choice of using the style of the wash with the textures and the lack of light has dropped the detail significantly. So it's also very box-like modeling, and it's hard to pick out the exact details of what everything is due to some of the retractive concept of the detail. So I'd have to give it 6 out of 10. So when it comes to skill, it is an interesting idea to complement. I'll also give this a 7 out of 10. Next piece. Thanks, Maid. I love when you play. And thank you for everything you're doing with Flatpak as well. This makes it a lot more accessible to the people on Linux. So we have actually 4 more pieces. And this one is done by MR GR, Mr. GR. Mr. GR has been working on this piece throughout the entire period of, lots of participation this time. This is true. So bear with us as we go through the next 4. This piece is really cool by Control M, MRGR. So MRGR has made a really interesting Juggernaut piece, which I showcased in the last Q&A and with the Bforartists event. And this was carefully put together during the time, which I consider amazing and a huge honor to have such amount of detail and character and personality with hard surface, organic, some effects, composition, some sculpting, textures. So quite a cool piece. And if we take a closer look, I mirrored it to balance it with the logo. I hope that's okay. We comped it back in. So this, out of all the pieces that we've had, this is one of the first that is, well, other than betas, one of the first that has decided to use a red theme, which I think is very cool. A violent, passionate red. He's got the glint in his eye and a powerful weapon in his hand. So let's take it to the valuation board. So when it comes to originality, an armored sci-fi suit is this tricky thing to marry, a portal that's burning into the tree, and the sparks, and with like a sci-fi sword. I think it was quite clever. I have seen something like this before, so I will dock it a point, but I thought it was a very clever idea. He's out and he's on a mission and he's ready to rumble. And it could be a bad guy, it could be a good guy, not sure, but he's got a mission. I like it. That also comes with the story. Very good story. When it comes to the style, this is also a stylistic render or a stylistic realism, which is tricky to do, but considering the elements of the grass and the foliage. Yeah, very in the comment on YouTube by Secretive Plotters, very reminiscent of Doom Guy and the Doom Sword. Yes, this is true. Actually, I might have to dog that. Maybe it is a tribute, not sure. We'll keep it high. So style, tricky to do, but he did a relatively good job of it. 9 out of 10. When it comes to composition, the head is a little close to the logo, and I did have to flip it, but it was relatively quite good. So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Could have been adjusted a bit more to balance with the two elements, but other than that, it's quite fine. When it comes to lighting, he added a rim light. I saw during the process added quite a strong rim light along here to bring out the dark on dark. He added the right shoulder underneath the light to bring that out. Makes the sword the light on dark. The leg does get lost a little bit, so that also could have had a rim light stronger from the actual sword. And the world, it's a little bit difficult to read. Like, is it daytime or is it nighttime? And the silhouette of the background where he's coming from. These are just small little things I could see, but there are a lot of elements in here. So with lighting, he had a difficult job, and he did a relatively good job of working the light in the world to bring out the shape of the character. So I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. When it comes to color, I do like the colors. It's tricky to balance. Red and blue. The light blue, it's almost a complementary concept of the blue logo with the red, which worked actually as quite a creative decision. So I consider this quite clever. When it comes to the detail is excellent, especially on the character, especially on the details of the sparks and the effects and the tree. Some of the textures could have been improved. I can see some pixelization happening from either the geometry or the textures. But other than that, it's relatively quite good. When it comes to skill, there's a lot of elements that were touched here, including layout, posing, lighting, and effects like that. I'll consider this quite a well-worked piece. So I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. So MRGR, you've done an excellent piece. Your effort during this particular competition has been exemplary. I love the work in progress. I love seeing you sharing the pieces. You also asked, like, you had a blue version, you had a red version. You went with the red one, which I really appreciate. It works with the logo quite nicely. It was really nice. So let's go to the last one, the next one. So after this, we have Prashan Subasinghe. We have had Prashan here with us in the Bforartists show before. And we also have this entry come in kindly as a friendly competition, I guess you could say, to have some fun from the Control Alt Delete server. So this piece is also, let's take a closer look. It's very reminiscent of The Wild Robot, as this was a tribute to that film. But Prashan has a very stylistic and very clear shape language when it comes to using simple shapes to bring out beautiful forms. Brings out lots of very clear expressions and ideas, lots of detail and painterly effects with the texturing and the design, very clear silhouette in a forest environment. It's also working with a complementary color scheme of orange and blue with the hints of green in between, with an open a complementary end on the blue spectrum. And all of this was a wide format, so I had to crop it into the shape with a very clear composition. Quite a powerful piece. So this was one of the first entries that we had for the competition, which made everybody shake in their boots, and with reason, including also Krysidian's piece that came in early. So this was an entry that he had produced earlier, which was also defining the rules that you could have entered with previous entries, which is great. So it was nice to see that. And so we'll see how it works. All right, let's take a closer look at the score. So, creativity. We have Prashan. Thank you for playing, Prashan. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you played. You're quite a high caliber artist, so it's really awesome that you're here. So this is a tribute to The Wild Robot when it comes to originality, but the execution was also exceptionally well done. So I'll give this a 19 out of 20. Wow, yeah, this is the most amount of competitors that we've had ever in the event, which is actually really cool to see. Thank you, everybody. So 19 out of 20. Now let's take it. Oh, I didn't score the style. 9 out of 10. So Prashan's style was really good. Very well done. The shape language, the NPR style, even though it's 3D, it works really well together. So I give it 10 out of 10. When it comes to story, and this is also goes to say the amount of talent that's in the Control Alt Delete Discord server is beyond anything. It's very good. When it comes to story, the robot's telling a story to the birds. Something is happening around the campfire. The story is very clear. Very good. So I give it 10 out of 10. When it comes to composition was, I did have to adjust it, but it was very good. So I have to give it 9 out of 10. When it comes to the lighting was also very good. The soft rim light from the sky, the blue sky, and the purple kick light and the orange-brown light and the shadows and the softness of going on in the world. The silhouette of the birds on the shoulders compared to the darkness. It's very well done. I give this 10 out of 10. And also, even though there is strong silhouette, he only used pitch black in the foreground to bring out the vibe of the world. So because there's a sense of layering with the composition, layering of the lighting, it increased the score above everybody else because you can still see things happening, but the values were carefully balanced so that the pitch black is only used for some particular pieces that you are not supposed to look at, but you can tell what it is. So that's quite a difficult thing to do, to have a very clear contrast and read, and it was very well executed. So I consider that 10 out of 10. Color, also very good, 10 out of 10. Especially with the blues and the oranges, with a hint of greens in there, perfectly balanced with the blues. I thought that's very good. When it comes to detail is also very good. The grass, the rocks on here, I give this a 10 out of 10. It's a heavy contender, this one. And finally, the skill level is quite high as well. So I'll give this 10 out of 10. So came in, guns blazing, who knows what's going to happen. So next piece after that, we have Prashan, and then finally Steinn here. Well, second to finally. So Steinn has also entered another piece that has been produced previously. And unfortunately, this was done in Bforartists, but we had to annul those 10 points due to leveling the playing field with everybody. So let's take a closer look. So Steinn's piece is a nature-based piece with a hint of hyperrealism, but with some really beautiful colors, with also a very nice orange and green in this case. This is kind of a complement, a triadic. There's almost a triadic. Bordering across, if we take a look at the color wheel here, it goes along the green edges up here and goes across from orange, yellow, green. And with a touch of yellow in between. So it's, I guess it's almost a monochromatic. Don't remember the term for that. I'll have to look that up later. So here we go. So we've got the piece of plants, and let's take it to the score. Also, in the composition wise, I will probably have to use the darker version of the logo. That's okay. Composition is perfect. Looks really smart. It's tricky. So when it comes to originality, it is a nature piece with some stylized plants, a hint of realism, beautiful bokeh, beautiful camera depth of field, and lens effects. Quite a beautiful piece. It is a nature piece, so it's a little bit tricky. So I'm giving this a 17 out of 20. When it comes to style, I thought the style was an illustrative realism with a hint of stylism going on. I thought this was very well executed with that concept. Same with the illustrative effects, straight lines, little blobby curves, complements of the straight lines. They fit together to frame the shot. I thought it was very well done. When it comes to story, these are seedlings. Something's growing. It's inside a greenhouse, or it could be inside, a wooden greenhouse. It's interesting. The story is pretty clear. I'm not sure the purpose of the shot, though, unfortunately. So even though the story is very clear, it doesn't doesn't make me want to ask a lot or explain what's actually going to happen. So I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. When it comes to composition, it was very well done, 10 out of 10. When it comes to lighting, it was also very well done. You can see the subsurface scattering, you can see the shapes, you can bring out the shape of the curve of the contours, the wooden beams, some of them in the shadow, some of them in the light, very intentional. It was quite good. And also the values of the detail were quite nice. Might have to dog it just a little bit. No, I think it's very good. When it comes to color, I love the colors. I think they're great. When it comes to detail, details are very good. A lot of it's blurred out. That's perfectly fine. That was part of the intention. The leaves don't have any serration, only some of them. But the thing that's kind of missing for some of these close-ups when it comes with nature is like sometimes plants have a little bit of peach fuzz, or there's a little bit of grime on some of the leaves. If you're trying to hit, this is more of a stylized realism, which you did well, but these little bits of detail to bring out a bit more of the story, or to bring out the concept, could have been pushed a tiny bit more, but that's relatively alright. So I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. When it comes to technical skill, this is a lot about lighting, camera lensing, but it is a relatively simple scene. I will give this 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. So Stein's here in the chat actually, so let me just check. I hope it's all good. Thanks for playing and bringing in your piece right at the last minute. It's also one of the few that has made green the hero, which is actually kind of a rare entry as a splash screen, especially when it comes to the blue logo. But I do like it, and it does stand out as a really cool splash screen. I do like it a lot. So, how many more do we have? Now we have the last but not least, Volker. Volker has been working very hard, and thank you, Steinn, for playing, and also you sharing these work in progresses and being active in the Bforartists community. It means a lot to me. So let's take a look at Volker. Volker has put so much love into this piece. It's finished right into the last minute. And Volker has come in from another Discord server, Arendelle, and has been an excellent friend online and has ventured out into making this art piece for the competition after attempting to do more than half a dozen different alternative versions of this piece. So there's a lot of work into the color, there's a lot of work into the composition, there's a lot of work into the detail as well, and also trying to hint at some kind of stylization as well along with the piece. So it actually looks really, it's eye-catching, it brings out the logo, the composition is very well balanced, super, the colors are very interesting and really unique. We have had purple themes before, especially with Kumare, who won in the 4.0 release, and others. So it's nice to see also another return to the concept of purple and yellow and orange. And it seems like we have a fan on YouTube of the piece. Secretive Plotter really likes it too. I'm glad you do. So let's take a closer look at the score. Hello? Sorry about the notice. Beta. We just scored your piece, Beta. You were the second in the review, so you'll have to watch back later, but I'll give you the final score soon. So thanks for connecting. So, Volker's originality. This piece is, she's holding a camera. She's got a butterfly in her hand. She's in a dream world, though she's more of a realistic model. And with that, it comes with an idea that is quite original. I have seen this type of render of this environment with the light and these types of characters before, specifically in the world of Daz. And Volker's happy that someone's a big fan. So I'm going to give this an originality of 17 out of 20. When it comes to style, unfortunately, the background style is really interesting, especially with the particles and lighting. It could have really fit together, but unfortunately, it clashed with the realism and the detail of the girl. So I wasn't sure if this is, okay, so is this supposed to be a stylized realism, or is this supposed to be realistic, or is this supposed to be full-on painterly, or an NPR, or cartoon? What medium are we working on? Beta has mentioned that all the entries are amazing. Big shout out to everyone. Yeah, your piece is great. I hope these feedbacks are constructive. At the end of the day, all of these are supposed to be for fun and to have a good time, and also to try and make this as impartial as possible with the judgment. So let's take a closer look. The style, because of the clash of styles and concepts, I did have to, the paint, it was a good attempt, but it missed the mark in that regard, but it did still have a good attempt. When it comes to story, she's taken a photo, there's a photo there, she's in the world of magic. I think the story is very clear, it's very good. When we're not sure, the camera could have been lit a little bit more to bring out the intention. So it's just a 9 out of 10 to show that we could have worked with the intention a bit more. The composition, 10 out of 10. I thought this was a perfect composition when it comes to balancing the logo and fitting into the Splashscreen and bringing out the silhouette where the trees were framing the beauty of the sky and framing the girl. I think this was an excellent piece when it comes to this. And that was well done. When it comes to lighting, I thought it was also well done. As mentioned before, the lighting could have brought out the key elements of the story a bit more. But in general, it is a relatively good lighting. So I'll give that 9 out of 10. When it comes to color, I love them, 10 out of 10. This is a concept of I guess you could say what you would call a triadic. So this has yellow, purple, light blues, or blues, yellow, purple. So this triadic, not a lot of people do triadics these days, though they prefer to have a wide complementary gamut. more a monochromatic gamut, but a triadic. I love triadics. I really do. And this really is one of those few pieces that actually hits a triadic in a perfect way. The light blues in the sky, the yellows hinted in here in the world, with the sunflowers and everything, and the purple light everywhere, but even the purple hair. I thought that was very intentional, very tasteful, and I think that deserves 10 out of 10. Almost so, I might even drop everybody else, but I've already scored already. So when it comes to detail's very good, very high. I give this 9 out of 10. Other than if the lighting was working a bit more on the core details, might have helped. Skill-wise, I'm not sure. Volker, I know you're in the chat on YouTube. Could you clarify? Did you model everything, or was this worked? This could sway the vote. If not, I will have to add the score. I'm assuming that some of these were pre-made, so I'll have to drop this level down to 8. The lighting was well done, execution of the layout and the composition was well done, but I'm not sure everything was fully built. So in the regards of that area, you did well, but it wasn't a full breadth skill. But this is from an assumption. Obviously, it could be tested for later. Characters from Daz, extensively edited. There we go. So good. Thanks, Volker, for clarifying. And this leads to the end of the composition and the competition for the splash screen, ready to deliver the prizes. So, who do you think won? Let's take a closer look. Oh, wow. Oh, it's a close one between Krysidian and Prashan. So, congratulations. First place is proudly won by Prashan. Wow, surprise. I could go through. So typically this was done live. I usually do a second opinion. I usually go through the notes, balance things out now that I've reviewed everybody. But since we have done this live, Blender Kit as well. Use the assets. Thanks, Volker, for clarifying that. So I will lock the scores as we have done it live, and we will skip the second opinion, which is usually my partner or some other artist friends who have not competed before. And Prashan has won first place with a close runner-up of Krysidian and the team, which is a really beautiful piece. One of my personal favorites was Krysidian's. Prashan did a really good job as well. A really good piece. I think my general critique of it is more, I guess, if we wanted a tie, I could dock a number on one of the elements when it comes to style is just the dynamicism of the pose. It's very T-shaped, very robotic, but it is a robot, so I think that works okay. And just justify, but it is good. And then after that, we've got 2 third places with MR GR and Steinn winning 3rd place. And then after that, coming in close with 79 with Volker, really 4th place. No, wait. Yes, 4th place. And then, no, Danny's on 4th place and Volker's on 5th. And then we have 63, 61, 72. Maid Sheikh also scored quite high. And finally, you got Balsunse and Beta. And in the end, but it's still a really good score. Everybody's above 50. Everybody's more than, I guess you could say, 60% of the general vote. So congratulations, everybody. I will be talking to you in private to pass this on. And also, if you played and you want to have your own build of Bforartists 4.5.0 with your splash screen, let me know and I will compile one special build specifically for you when it releases on Monday. So thank you everybody for playing. This was the biggest competition that we had for Bforartists ever. Thank you everybody who's in the voice chat and who was watching on YouTube. This is a huge honor to have you play, and I'm happy to give you prizes for this. And stay tuned for the next competition in November, the end of October into November, for the next splash screen of Bforartists 5.0.0. So thank you everyone. Have an excellent one. Thank you for playing. And hopefully I can play in the next one too and have somebody do an unbiased judgment of it too. So have a good one.